real quick, I did think of a better title for chapter 39. So, Sherry, you're going to edit this back. So let's pretend I did this at when you said yours, and it'll just be cleaner that way. What's good? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of The Newest Olympian. My name is Mike Schubert. I'm the titular Newest Olympian. I'm a 33-year-old man who never read the Percy Jackson books as a kid. I read them as an adult because I was on a quest to determine if it was a book series that society had been sleeping on. I said yes, and now I'm seeing if society has also been sleeping on the Heroes of Olympus books. But I am never on this quest alone, and today is no exception. I am joined by a very special guest, someone who has been on the podcast a couple of times, but now is here for a very fun set of chapters in Mark of Athena. You may know her as Imaginmatrix. You may know her from her cosplay, her writing, her TTRPG enthusiasm. It's Morgan Danielle. Morgan, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I am excited to cover these chapters. We are getting into the more intense sections of the book, and I'm noticing a trend now in the Heroes of Olympus books. I think this probably happened in the Percy Jackson ones as well. I'd have to look at the stats of TNO, but what happened for sure in the first two Heroes of Olympus books is that as the books go on, the chapters get a little shorter.
Yeah.
And it seems like Rick is trying to, at least in this one, because there's so many narrators, this is the time it's felt the most intentional of okay, we got to get over to this narrator instead kind of thing. And for these chapters in particular, at least on my very legal PDF, the third chapter that we're discussing today is 2 PDF pages, which is not a lot.
Yeah. I think it was 10 minutes or less on the audiobook, and I listened at 2 times speed. So I got through in 4 or 5 minutes. And I was like, that was really short.
Right. It's something that I appreciate because when I was doing all of the scheduling stuff for these episodes, originally the plan was that I was going to do the Mark of Athena ending thing at the Pittsburgh show at the end of September. And then the Pittsburgh venue said, we're not going to let you stream the show, which is very foolish of them. They were like, oh, we want to encourage in-person sales. And I'm like, people are going to buy tickets because someone literally emailed me and they were like, can I get a refund to the Pittsburgh show? I was only going to drive down because it's the end of Mark of Athena. So this is what happens when business people don't understand nerd business.
Yeah.
So
that's such a bummer. I was so excited for that.
Yeah. But I am still able to do it. I just had to do it 2 weeks earlier at the Providence show. So it's all good. But I was like, oh, darn it. 2 weeks up. Now it's a really tight timeline. It was already a tight timeline.
Yeah.
But then I looked at the actual breakdown of the chapters and stuff. And it's oh, there's a lot of very short chapters. So I think I'll be okay. So it's working out. I'm a little crammed at the end of August and the beginning of September. But it's all for a good cause, me doing this thing live. But you're here and we have never asked you, because we've always been asking about the particular content. We've not asked you the first returning guest question, which is, what's your cabin?
I have always been torn between Poseidon and Athena because I was the gifted and talented kid in Latin classes and honors and AP. I always really liked the smart people in books and really imprinted on Annabeth at a very young age. But I've also always felt very connected to the ocean. My name means of the sea in the spelling for it, which is Celtic.
Oh, cool.
I was born in Torrance, California, near the ocean. I have a little birthmark that looks like a little goldfish. I've always wanted to be a mermaid. Yeah, I have a couple mermaid tails. I've always cosplayed Ariel. She was my favorite growing up. So I've kind of settled on I'm a Poseidon child. But I have the Roman thing where you'll have legacies where I'm an Athena legacy.
Oh, okay.
I got some of that in there. So I always like to be it's Poseidon's sun, Athena rising.
Okay. All right. But if you were in a cabin, it would be cabin 3.
Yeah. So if I was in a cabin, I've gone with cabin 3. But of course, whenever I buy merch, I always buy Athena merch because of cosplaying Annabeth all the time.
Sure.
So
yeah.
And I just like Athena, but
I totally get
I've kind of settled on Poseidon.
Yeah, it's tough when certain things don't align where Percy Jackson stuff even, I definitely feel very strongly about being in the Poseidon cabin, but pink's my favorite color. So anytime there's like an Aphrodite option, it's always like, oh man, like I could get the pink one. And I don't think I'm in that cabin at all, but it's like, And then Athena stuff is always fun too, because I like the owl motif. My college mascot was an owl, specifically an Athenian owl in the logo. Yeah. So it's always like, oh, the owl stuff is cool. It's so hard.
And I think outside of like Percy Jackson and fandom stuff, Athena and Aphrodite are two of the most popular female goddesses, and Artemis. Mm-hmm. So it's like, even just getting merch of them is more like recognizable and cool, and like people will have Artemis stuff and Aphrodite stuff and Athena stuff.
I love Artemis. I think Artemis is very fun. Obviously in Hades, the video game, obviously in Percy Jackson. I'm excited. We're recording this August 27th, so they very recently announced the casting of Artemis and Zoe Nightshade for season 3.
I love Dafne Keen. Yeah. I'm so excited.
I felt very old when people were like, oh yeah, she was great in Logan. And I was like, the child from Logan is 20 now? No.
And I haven't seen Logan. And I haven't seen the newest, I don't know, spoilers. I think she's in the newest Deadpool. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I'm not, but I did watch a bit of her in the His Dark Materials TV show.
I've heard she was very good in that show, which is cool.
She is an actress. I think she's only 20.
She's 20 years old. Yeah, because I had a big, oh my God, how old am I midlife crisis when I saw that she was cast. And I was like, oh, okay. She's still quite young.
Oh, and she was in The Acolyte too.
Yes.
The Star Wars show.
Yeah.
So she's
really
always
stoked about her.
Yeah, from a young age, she brings a very mature energy, even playing very young characters and being young herself. So I think she's going to be really good as Artemis, bringing that to the character.
Right.
Where I would believe, even if she looks really young, that this is like an immortal goddess in a young woman's body.
Yeah, I think she's got a good look, because when I first saw a photo of her, I think she looked a lot older. And it could just be like when people are in makeup and fancy dresses and stuff, I think they usually look older. And the photos I saw were at like press events and stuff.
Yeah.
So at first when I saw her, I was like, oh my God, no, the girl from Logan's so old now. How old am I? And then it was like, she's 20. I was like, oh, so it's a really nice in-between.
She has like very severe, intense features that look so good, but also like definitely make her look older in some styling and very young in other styling.
I think
like she looked a lot younger in The Acolyte. Yeah.
And I'm very excited for who they cast as Zoe Nightshade, because she's a hooper.
Yep.
Sarah Chowdhury played in celebrity basketball tournaments, at least one. I made a whole Instagram reel about it on the TNO Instagram. But yeah, canonically, the hunters hoop. So them casting a hunter hooper makes me very excited. Ever closer to basketball showing up in the TV show, which I would love. I would love it so much. But anyway, we got to talk about these books. So let's talk about these chapters. They are Leo chapters. Now, where we last left our heroes, it's interesting because where we last left the chapter, Annabeth was getting attacked by Arachne. And then I turned the page and I saw it said Leo. And I was like, no, but I knew this would happen because it had been 4 Annabeth chapters. But I was like, maybe we'll get 5. And then it was Leo. And I was really upset.
It's like, maybe Rick won't leave us on a cliffhanger, but
no, that's not what happens. But I will say, and I put this in my notes, after like 2 sentences, I got very invested in the Leo thing, so it got washed away quite quickly. So where we last left our heroes, because it kind of like goes back in time, it's when they're splitting up. So we've got Leo with Frank and Hazel. They're going around Rome in search of wherever the underground passage for Nico is. Now, chapter 37 opens with, quote, Leo wished he wasn't so good. And I was confused by what this meant, because it could go a lot of different ways, even though it definitely sounds like something Leo would say. I was like, okay, but in what regard of being too good? Is this a fire thing? Is this a mechanical thing? Is this him being teen heartthrob? What is it? He does the thing as the narrator where you kind of like preview what the ending of this section is going to be, because he mentions, if he wasn't so good, we wouldn't have had to fight these metal dudes underground because we found a secret chute. So I was like, okay, cool. He's going to find a secret chute and then we're going to fight some metal dudes.
Yep.
I think this is, again, another thing I could ask Rick if I ever had him on the pod. I wonder when he decides to do this thing where he kind of gives away the plot twist. I think it's smart if this is the answer. I wonder if it's because people are like, no, I want to know what's going on with Annabeth. So like 2 sentences in, he's like, they're going to fight metal people underground. And then immediately after that, I was like, oh? So I think that could be an intentional choice from him. And it's interesting.
You know, when I write, and if I'm smart enough to actually give myself an outline, I usually try and split it up by chapters. And then, like, if I have multiple point of views, who each one will be from, and then what happens in each chapter. So I can imagine that seems like the average, like, writing process and planning process. So I assume that also would, like, help make him decide. Like, I feel like Heroes of Olympus, he likes to leave a lot of chapters on these little cliffhangers and, like, dramatic moments, as if you're, like, watching, like, a TV show and it ends on this one note and then switches scenes. Kind of has, like, the Marvel quippy energy.
Sure.
And so I feel like that's also why he splits up a lot of these chapters that could just be 1 or 2 chapters into 3 or 4, because you get that dramatic, like, one-liner from Leo, and then it continues with Leo in the next one.
Yeah, these books are always trying to get you to keep reading the next chapter. And I think this seems like almost the opposite of doing it at the end, where, you know, you've got the big Annabeth cliffhanger. You see Leo and you're like, oh, but then at the beginning, Leo's like, this is about to happen. You're like, all right, I'm back in. All right, let's go. So narrator Leo mentions that Hazel had a pretty tough time navigating through Rome because there's just so much going on underground that it's like sensory overload for her. But he does note, well, at least the poor navigation means we get a whole tour of Rome. But after a while, walking in the heat through a sea of tourists gets old and Leo grows tired of it. He's mostly unimpressed with the ruins and the architecture, and he is shocked that the drivers are riskier drivers than Houston. And as someone who did learn to drive in Houston, Texas, and drove in Houston, Texas for a decade, yeah, man, this is accurate as heck. This is Rick's true Texan nature coming through and having the facts, because Houston drivers are awful. I would not say they're the worst drivers, but I would say they might be the most aggressive drivers that I have ever had to deal with. People love to make wild lane changes. No one likes to use their turn signals when they do so. They hate letting people in if they have to change lanes on the highway. All of the highways are just so big and they keep expanding them because heaven forbid we put public transit in a city in Texas.
I've never been to Houston, but that sounds like when I visited Boston. The few times I've been to Boston I'm so glad I wasn't driving any of those times.
Yeah, I've never had to drive in it. I've only used public transit. But anytime I'm walking aroround Boston, I am thankful that I am not driving, because then you've got weird turning roads and some are cobblestone confusing. And there's tourists everywhere and statues. It'd be a mess. I can't imagine trying to, like, navigate utilizing Google Maps in Boston. That would be horrendous. But Leo is right. Houston drivers, absurd. Absolutely absurd. Hazel comments that she never thought that she would be able to see Italy because of Mussolini's reign during her first life, which is a fun, like, oh, right, yeah, oh my gosh. And Leo checks, isn't that the guy who's BFFs with Hitler? And then Hazel doesn't know what a BFF is, which is great.
Yeah.
So many pinging back and forth of like, oh, wow, yeah, what an old person thing. Oh, yeah, wow, the old person wouldn't get this new thing. And I guess, yes, she has not seen the IDK My BFF Jill commercial that lived rent-free in everyone's brains for whatever years and then sparked the spinoff where it was IDK My BFF Rose. That was like a whole, gosh, what an era.
I remember those so well. And me and my friends were always saying, IDK My BFF Jill.
So much. It was like for a phone company, right? And it was like some teenager heard you texting IDK My BFF Jill.
I think it was Verizon,
I don't know,
or AT&T.
Clearly, they didn't do a good job enough, because we remember the commercial, but not who or what it was for. They did not reach Jake from State Farm level, where we will always remember that. Come on, get
or Progressive
better.
Flow.
Yeah, Progressive Flow, truly an icon, an icon. But anyway. Wild how many insurance, I guess because insurance is so boring, you have to have really good commercials, because like the really memorable things are Geico, State Farm, and Progressive. Yep. Wow. You really got to go hard on it.
You say anyway as if we're getting back to the book and then continue on the insurance. I just gotta, it's so funny.
Man. The true thing, though, to really give it to commercials, and this is a play, I don't even like this establishment, but Sonic, the fast food place, they did the smartest thing of just having those two dudes in the car. And those guys are improv legends. They are two very, very, very talented improvisers. They will show up every now and then on shows. And they're ultimate, like, where do I know that guy from guys? Yeah. And then you look it up on IMDb and you're like, the Sonic guys? But those dudes are such talented improvisers. And I loved that a lot of those commercials were just having the two of them just riff. That's genius level stuff. As an improv boy, I very much appreciate it. So shout out to that. Now, truly, anyway, Percy Jackson. Hazel says that she wants to see the Trevi Fountain. Leo doesn't get it. Why would you want to see that? There's fountains everywhere. Hazel later says that she wants to see the Spanish Steps. Leo doesn't get it. He says, quote, that's like going to China for Mexican food, isn't it? Oh, man. And this is good to establish that Leo and Hazel are not a match. If we're trying to make sure that we root for Hazel and Frank, this is pretty good. That Hazel wants to do fun things and Leo is needlessly being grumpy about things just to show maybe they're not the best fit.
He's not in the best mood right now.
That's true. Yeah, I got to factor that in a little bit more to when people are acting in ways where maybe they're not at their best. Because in a couple of episodes recently, I was pointing out that I don't love Mark of Athena Jason. I feel like he's been a little bit different and a little bit more boneheaded at times. But some listeners have pointed out, he's so tired. He's so tired the whole book. And he's had at least 2, potentially 3 brain injuries in like a week.
Which are like, if you are knocked out, the longer you're unconscious, the more serious it is and the more likely you are to have long-lasting brain damage. So his head probably hurts all the time.
Yes. And head injuries can legitimately alter your mood. I have people in my life that I know had to deal with like mood changes in the immediate aftermath of head trauma. So I get it.
Yeah. And I think like Jason also, like, I still am not entirely sure because I haven't read a lot beyond Heroes of Olympus, even though I've read Percy Jackson, the first series, like a million times. And I own all of the books from every single series. But yeah, Jason, like he like may or may not have regained all of his memories. And then he went from a place where he was raised as a child soldier without like really being able to find his own personality, and then is surrounded by all these big personalities, and he's still trying to find where he belongs and what his purpose is. So he's just kind of out of it, I think, in this one. And then I think Leo also, for a lot of Mark of Athena, is not at his best. He's like really mean to Frank. He has like mean girl energy to Frank all the time.
It's getting better. He at least is having more, especially in the recent scenes, the underwater scene, and now in these chapters as well. I think he's being a little more friendlier to Frank, which I appreciate. Yeah. But yeah, I think with Jason, I'm still in a holding pattern. I'm very patient with making calls on characters, especially because I know there's more books to come. And I don't know, will Jason be in Trials of Apollo? I have no idea. So I am not going on the I don't like Jason. I'm not like making any sort of like hard stance. It's just I'm noticing.
At some points
I don't
here,
love it.
He's a little different.
Yeah. And it also could just be a book thing. There could be a scene in the end of Mark of Athena where Jason apologizes to being kind of aloof and being weird around Piper a couple of times. And then it's like, oh, okay, Rick was teaching children a lesson. It's not, that he sucks. There's an arc.
Yeah, and he does have like a complicated relationship with Piper because he loves her and she loves him, but then like the memories weren't real.
Right.
But the new memories they have are, but it's like
there's a lot.
What is the basis? And yeah, it's a lot for teenagers to deal with.
Right. So I am being patient. I'll see what's up, but I'm still raising my eyebrow of like, what's going on here? Hazel grabs Frank's hand and points to where they should go. Frank gives Leo a look like he's caught between gloating or thanking Leo for completely fumbling the bag here, but he gladly lets Hazel sweep him away. So they walk for a while, and Hazel eventually stops in front of what Leo thinks is a church. And at this point, I wrote in my notes, I'm already invested again. I'm already like, Annabeth, Schmanabeth, let's figure out what's going on here.
We're so back.
She's fighting a spider, yada, yada, whatever. Let's get into this.
Oh, gosh.
There's an inscription at the top of the building that says, M. Agrippa something or other, according to narrator Leo. So I wrote, it's the Pantheon, because I not only took Latin in high school, but I've been to Rome multiple times. Woo!
I also took Latin in high school, and I haven't been to Rome, but I obsessively look at pictures of Rome and Greece, and I know I will be there someday.
Yeah, I highly, highly recommend. Rome is fantastic. It lives up to the hype. I've still not been to Greece. I really want to go, and I look forward to a future trip there, but the hype of Rome is real. It's very good, and I would recommend anyone in Rome to go to a pizza place. I'm not kidding. It's the best pizza I had in Rome. It's called Pizza Zizza, and it's perfect. It's right by the Vatican. It's one of those pay for pizza by the pound things. Ooh. They just like make big giant square pies, and then you get as much as you want, or you can get like a sampler platter from whatever they're making. Incredible stuff. Really, really good. Not too expensive. Highly recommend.
I just want to fly around Rome on a moped because one of my favorite movies is Roman Holiday.
Oh,
and I'm like,
oh, that's good because this book, I thought you were going to say the Lizzie McGuire movie.
No, well, that too, which is just a giant reference to Roman Holiday.
Oh, maybe I should watch it. The best is on Kelly and I's first trip to Rome. We were going, Kelly planned a bunch of the stuff, and then we ended the day by watching the Lizzie McGuire movie.
I love it.
And I noticed that her travel itinerary 1-for-1 matched that of the Lizzie McGuire movie, which is a great travel plan. You start at the Trevi Fountain, you end at the Colosseum. Like, it's a great to do. It works.
Yeah.
But it was very funny. As we watched the movie, I was like, I've seen this before, Kelly.
Yeah. I highly recommend going back and watching Roman Holiday. It was the first American Hollywood film filmed on location in Rome and I think out of the country in general. Audrey Hepburn's first movie ever. She won an Oscar for it.
Okay.
Gregory Peck's in it. And he was like, he told the director, he's like, you need to bill her higher than me, even though I'm already famous, because she's going to win an Oscar for this movie.
What a lad, Gregory Peck. I feel like when we did the live show about this, we talked a little bit about him being a cool dude. And that makes him even cooler.
Yeah, because when Annabeth and Percy meet two gods that literally are presenting themselves as Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck in Roman Holiday.
That was such a fun scene. It was
one
so
of my
fun.
favorite chapters.
So, really good stuff. Really good stuff. So Leo guesses that this inscription could be Latin for get a grip. Leo, you need to get a grip because come on, you got to know your Latin better. Hazel is certain that this is the spot. Leo listens in on a Spanish tour guide and learns that this is the Pantheon, originally built by Marcus Agrippa as a temple to the gods and then rebuilt by Emperor Hadrian after it burned down. He relays this to the group. Hazel asks how he knew this. Leo says that he's just a natural genius. Frank calls BS, but instead of calling BS, he calls centaur poop. So he calls CP on it.
Yep. I wrote down that one and I think later Leo says Hephaestus's hand grenades, which is also could very much be a PG version of a not PG.
What would that one be? We can bleep it out.
Like balls, like Hephaestus's balls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was thinking of how in Harry Potter they have some swears like that are similar.
Merlin's pants, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's
Right. At least, the centaur poop BS is very clearly we have so translated one to one.
Yeah,
I think it might be more of a stretch for the grenade one, but
yeah, me too. But the centaur poop one though was the best.
Direct translation. So Frank says this because he knows Leo eavesdropped on the tour. Leo smirks and says that they should find that secret entrance that Hazel mentioned. He hopes that there will be air conditioning in the building, and then narrator Leo on the next line says, of course, no AC. So Leo's impressed by the interior of the building, especially the dome with the circular opening inside it, which it does rule. It's a very cool dome. It's got cool shapes, as Leo later describes as the narrator, and then that hole cut in it is pretty sweet. Leo appreciates the engineering. The dome is made of large stone panels that are hollowed out with a square within a square pattern. He doesn't mention this out loud, but he thinks that Annabeth would appreciate it. He then wonders how Annabeth is doing, and for the first time,
blonde girl.
He's worried about the scary blonde girl. And I wrote, me too, bud. I'm worried about her, and I wonder how things are going. Now, I'm not too worried about her because I would imagine she's going to... Look, I would imagine,
it's fine.
Just a hunch, I feel like Annabeth might show up in future books. I don't think she's at risk, but we'll see. Leo does tell the other two, though, that the children of Vulcan would come here to consecrate demigod weapons in secret. This is where Imperial Gold was enchanted. Hazel can sense the entrance to Nico is nearby, but she's not sure where. And the narrator Leo says, quote, that's when Leo made his mistake of simply being too good. So he scans the building in search of it, and then he recalls his ability to learn how a machine works by touching it. He cites the helicopter example from The Lost Hero, and he says that he also fixed Festus that way. And then also, finally we've reached it. One time, he reprogrammed the billboards in Times Square to read, quote, all the ladies love Leo. And at long last, I have finally reached all the ladies love Leo. This has been completely, I wouldn't say ruined for me, but I knew this was going to be a thing because there are many meme pages called all the ladies love Leo and stuff like that.
It's so funny. Despite reading these books multiple times and being immersed in this fandom, I didn't connect that line to this instance. Like, I just was like, oh, it's like a reference to the narcissist thing.
I thought it was going to be in that scene when we started doing it. I was like, here's where it comes. And it did not.
I didn't even realize it was like a big thing in the fandom. I just thought it was a minor reference to that. That's so funny.
I am surprised at how big of a thing it is, given how minor of a line it is. But I've now donned a All the Ladies Love Leo friendship bracelet, which I have had for at least a year.
I love that. And now you can wear it. Now I can wear it.
Now I get it.
You're allowed to wear it.
It's funny because I think when this person gave it to me at a live show, they were like, careful, this one's a spoiler. And I might have even asked, like, is it, because they were like, it's a spoiler, but not really. I was like, is it an All the Ladies Love Leo one? Because that got ruled for me, not even by the Patreon. I think it was just like TNO meme accounts and stuff. And then more stuff happened.
I feel like saying it's a spoiler makes it seem like a spoiler. Like, I feel like if you just saw All the Ladies Love Leo, you have just been like, oh, this is just a fandom meme.
Right. And even when it was like ruined, also, I don't know in the recording if I said TNO meme pages when I meant PJO meme pages. I did not mean to credit. There's not a dedicated TNO meme page. I'm also not trying to rebrand the franchise as mine.
Yeah.
But even this was being spoiled. Like, this is such a minor thing. It's fine. The same thing happened with Damn. Damn got ruined completely, and then
that's
fell
like
flat.
Impossible to avoid, honestly.
Sure. So much Damn stuff. So much All the Ladies Love Leo stuff.
I did want to mention, though, like, there's a part of me that's like almost disappointed by Rick, like, having Leo work this way. Like, it makes sense with like how the powers of all the demigods, especially those in the Seven, are kind of amped up to kind of match Percy's kind of powers, just so that it's a little bit more even. He's still probably more powerful than most of them. But I feel like it would be like more impressive if like we see Leo use his knowledge of engineering and his smarts and mechanics to like pick the lock or be able to solve it in a different way. And I think we do see that like later in these chapters, but like the fact that he can just touch something and like I feel like I would rather see him as a character be able to figure it out without like having it in a magical way almost. But I also understand why Rick did it this way to make it more magical, because they are magical beings.
Yeah, I think
they're
that makes
part
sense.
God, but I'm also like, well, I want to just like, and I think part of that is like Annabeth in the original series, like she is very smart because of who's her mom, but she is a hard worker because of who she is. She trains so hard because of who she is. She studies so hard because of who she is as a person, and like everything she does, I don't think you should credit to just her mom. Like, I think it's something that's all her. Yes. She has like an advantage, but so I like almost wish that we had a little bit more of that with Leo.
Yeah, I think it could even be a mixed thing where he utilizes his engineering knowledge to use magic to open it, because it is a little bit, I put my hand on the ground and it unlocked. Yeah.
I think it's like he can see inside and has to do a little bit more like mental magical stuff of being like, okay, I need to know how this works in order to solve it. Oh, I recognize what kind of, lock this is. And he does say it's like a combination. Yeah. But like, just like something extra that does make that power be like, he can see inside it magically, but it's his own knowledge that he has to utilize to fix it.
I think that would be fun. And I think this chapter is funny because you get basically Hazel and Leo both just kind of walking around sensing stuff the whole time and just like
Frank's just like, I'm with a metal detector.
I'll turn into a snake real quick. Yeah. But it's funny coming fresh off an Annabeth chapter set where she is wondering, what are my powers? Oh, I got to figure everything else out. And then Hazel's like, well, I'm just going to walk around and feel it. And Leo's like, I'm just going to touch stuff and it'll work. It's very funny.
Frank's like, I'm here too.
I'll turn into animals. Let's go. So yes, we get the All the Ladies Love Leo thing. Finally, I'm very disappointed that Times Square is involved with this iconic moment. Ugh, disgusting. My least favorite place.
He should have done it to just turn off Times Square.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, just turn it off for like lovely. A week straight.
Oh my God.
Just imagine how much that would fix things there.
I've had to be in Times Square recently because I've gone to some Broadway shows, and the worst part of going to shows on Broadway is having to deal with Times Square. It sucks. The subway station that I use to get there is in the Times Square vicinity, and it sucks so much.
I feel like New York City needs to do something akin to like how Paris, like Sundays are like no car days, and they've like really cut down on like emissions and stuff. I know power is a huge issue in New York City. I feel like if like every like Monday, they just turn off Times Square for 24 hours. But that would just make so many people so mad. But it's like,
it would make tourists mad, and I could not care less about them.
Yeah. The people who live there are like, you are driving our power bills up. Like, get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. And it's obviously not every tourist is going to be the same. Obviously, I'm going to help out people. It does annoy me when like a young American person with a functional phone asks me for directions. It's like, I know you have Google Maps. Get out of here. Old lady from another country. Yes, I will tell you how to get to the Olive Garden. Sure. But
it's like the young American tourist with a phone is trying to get the authentic experience of getting in directions. The authentic from a New
experience
Yorker.
Of how do I get to Times Square? You go to the subway station that's called Times Square 42nd Street. What are you talking about? It's not hard. Oh, which way is the uptown train going? Up. It's going up. North. What do you mean? The downtown train? Down. South. Yeah, anyway. Percy Jackson. So, Leo tries to sense the workings of the building, and then he directs the team to a red marble altar with a Virgin Mary statue atop it. It is the resting place of Raphael, the famous painter. Hazel knew this, not Leo.
And the famous Ninja Turtle.
Exactly. I'm surprised. One of the most surprising things is Leo not making a Ninja Turtles reference. Once Hazel said, oh yeah, the famous painter, I was like, Leo's going to say something about the Ninja Turtles. And he did
especially because his name's Leo.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I know that kid watched so much Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Had to have. And he would have loved that Leo was the leader. Ugh. Yeah. Just like I loved that Michelangelo was the nunchuck pizza guy. As a Michael, exactly. I was so happy that I had the best Ninja Turtle. Obviously. I would have been so jealous if anyone else.
Comments about who's the best Ninja Turtle.
And they're all wrong. Raphael has anger management issues. Leo, the leader, cool. Who's your favorite Power Ranger? Jason, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? Chocolate? Get out of here. Donatello, I will support. Love a nerd. And I love that his weapon is just a big stick. Like, that's cool.
I love a big stick.
If anyone picks Donatello as their favorite, I respect it. And Michelangelo, I just always loved. Cowabunga dude, pizza loving, nunchuck guy. Come on. Especially when you're a kid, the nunchucks are the coolest. When you're a kid, you don't want to like Donatello. Stick is boring. The other stuff is way cooler. When you get older, then you're like, oh, he's got a stick and he's still fighting with people who have swords and stuff? Go Donatello. I respect it. Yeah. Anyway, Percy Jackson. So it's the resting place of Raphael. Leo says it's in the way. Leo looks around at the tourists, and most are not paying them any attention, but there's a group that he does not get a good vibe from. They are some pudgier, middle-aged Americans talking loudly. Quote, they looked like manatees stuffed into beach clothes, sandals, walking shorts, touristy t-shirts, and floppy hats. Their legs were big and pacey and covered with spider veins. The guys acted extremely bored, and Leo wondered why they were hanging around. They weren't watching him. Leo wasn't sure why they made him nervous. Maybe he just didn't like manatees. So, of course, this is very clear that this is going to be people that we're going to have to contend with.
Yeah.
And the timing of this is very funny just for me personally, because in this past week, Kelly and I have been listening to, are you familiar with the group The Twin Sisters at all?
I'm not. That sounds familiar.
They do these like educational children's song things, and they have a whole marine biology album that Kelly and her siblings used to listen to. And
okay, that sounds
physics
more familiar
one as well.
Now.
I think these are the same people that do multiplication rap, which I listened to growing up. And Kelly, for whatever reason, was singing these and then started playing them on our speakers for our baby.
I remember, I don't know if it was the same group, but I do remember in like classes, like studying SAT words and AP words, specifically using like songs that were written using them for studying.
Yeah.
So it may not be the same group because I don't know how old the kids these are targeted at are, but like I definitely learned a lot of different like songs like that in school for studying, because with being an ADHD person and like a musical theater nerd, it's so much easier to remember what things mean in song form.
Look, everyone learns differently, and if you're an auditory learner, hell yeah. I very much enjoyed multiplication rap. It helped me just to have different stuff, especially for the higher times tables, because I've always been good at remembering songs and song lyrics. So when things got higher up, it was like, okay, yeah.
And
now I can remember.
We know that like rhythm and stuff helps people remember information better. That's why people can memorize like hours of song lyrics, but they get intimidated if they have to memorize like Shakespeare or something.
Right, yeah.
But Shakespeare also has a rhythm, so once you know it, it gets easier.
That's how I learned the linking verbs in fourth grade language arts class. There was like a rhythm to be as am, are, was, were, been, have, as, had, may, might, must, can, could, shall, should, will, would, do, does. Like I will never forget that.
Was it Schoolhouse Rock?
Oh yeah, Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah,
I mean, I still
like conjunction, junction. What's your function?
I still sing the states in alphabetical order song to me if I need to do a thing where I remember all the states. Like I will never forget Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas. Like the Animaniacs song with all the countries. Like totally get it.
Perfect.
Totally get it. So we've been playing the Manatee song. Specifically, there is a song on this marine biology album called Manatees Are Lovable Huge Things. And the lyrics, I can't pull them up because the internet doesn't have them, but there's some wild stuff in there where they talk about, it's a wild song. And it's one of those things where just like the cadence of it like is not very good. Like they clearly like made the song first and then wrote the lyrics to kind of fit it. And they try to get these science facts in there. So it'll be like, there are only 1,200 manatees in the world. It's really bad. Now manatee numbers are doing better. I Googled it. There's like 13,000 now, which is much better. But it's a wild. The song is not good, but I have all of these manatee facts stuck in my head. So when manatees came up, I was like, wow, hilarious timing given what's been on the playlist this week at the Schubert household. Very different. Kelly likes to play these educational kid song stuff for her. And I'm like, let's listen to the Beastie Boys, please. More Tribe Called Quest, please. So the little dichotomy of music going into our baby's eardrums. We'll see how she turns out.
Yep.
But anyway, Percy Jackson. So Leo tells himself to ignore the manatee people. Not a smart idea. They will return. Leo goes to the side of the tomb and he feels around on one of the columns and he feels Roman numerals etched into it. He gathers that it is a combination lock. He feels for it and notices that the lock face has been removed, but he thinks he can still control the internal mechanism. He feels the ground. He senses celestial bronze gears beneath, and it works. A small opening on the floor next to the wall opens. Leo comments that the Romans must have been small, and he tells Frank that he'll have to change into something thinner to get through. Hazel scolds him for being rude. Leo protests that he wasn't trying to be rude. Frank says, no big deal, and that they should, instead of going in right now, get the others before they continue on. That's what Piper requested. But Leo reminds Frank of how far away they are, and then he also brings up that he's not sure that he will be able to close the hatch behind them, so they probably ought to just go in right now. Frank points out that they don't know if this path is safe. Hazel senses that there's nothing alive for the next few hundred feet. She says that she can sense the shape of the path and that there's no traps. Leo asks how she can do that. Hazel says the same way that he can move gears. And she says she's glad he isn't into robbing banks. And Leo comments that he never thought of that, which is very funny. So Hazel says, I forgot I mentioned it. Yep. And then she says, it's not 3 o'clock yet, so we can explore a bit, try and pinpoint Nico, and then we can get the others. Yeah, sure. What could go wrong? Nothing. Could go wrong? Absolutely this nothing. Is exactly what will happen. This will be fine. Totally fine.
Everything's fine.
Hazel wants to go in a bit by herself to make sure it's safe, and she thinks that with her powers, it's best for her to go in and scout it out and then call for the other two. Frank doesn't want to let her go in alone, but Hazel insists that this is her specialty, so she should do it. Leo chimes in to say that it could be Frank's if he turns into a mole or a prairie dog. Frank tells him to shut up. Leo goes on, or a badger. And Frank replies, Valdez, I swear. And then Hazel tells them to stop bickering. She says that she'll explore for 10 minutes and instructs them not to kill each other while she's gone. She enters. They stand shoulder to shoulder, trying to look as natural as possible. But how natural can you do standing like this in front of Raphael's tomb? Most people ignore them. But of course, those American manatees do not ignore them.
Of course.
Frank tells Leo that Hazel talked to him about how Leo guessed Frank's lifeline. Narrator Leo says, quote, Leo resisted the urge to set his hand ablaze and yell, bwahaha! The idea was sort of funny, but it wasn't that cruel. Great. This is a classic Percy move of, I thought of this funny joke, and I didn't say it out loud, but I will tell you, the reader. And we're all better for it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You get to know my intrusive thought. I will not act on it.
Which is the way to operate. Leo assures him that he would never put Frank in danger since they are on the same team. And Frank admits that he always knew fire could kill him, but the fear feels so much more real now after his grandmother's house burned down. And then narrator Leo goes, quote, Leo nodded. He felt sympathy for Frank, but the guy didn't make it easy when he talked about his family mansion, sort of like saying, I crashed my Lamborghini, and waiting for people to say, oh, you poor baby. Leo, very funny. Very, very, very funny stuff. Leo then asks Frank if his grandmother died in the fire as well. Frank says that he's not sure, as he saw a bird fly away from the wreckage. Leo asks if his whole family has the power. Frank says he guesses so, explaining that he thinks that's what led to his mom dying in a firebomb in combat. She was trying to save people. And Leo says that they share losing their mothers to fire in common. And then he gives the whole story. And Frank, who's choked up, says that he hates when people tell him sorry about your mom. And Leo agrees because it always feels fake. And then Frank goes, but I'm sorry about your mom. And Leo says thanks. So sweet little moment.
Yeah. I think it's different when you hear it from someone who's gone through the same thing.
100%. The American manatees get closer. Frank explains that his cabin lar, Reticulus, told Frank that he has more power than most demigods because of having Mars abilities and the Zhang family gift. And that's why his life force is tied to a stick to balance things out. And I think that's a fun way to basically say that Rick wants everyone to have a balance too and not have anyone be too overpowered. So it works. Leo recalls Nemesis having a similar stance. Then he thinks about the fortune cookie so that we, as the reader, don't forget about the fortune cookie. Leo tells Frank that they all have their weaknesses, Leo's being that he's too funny and attractive. The American manatees are now making a beeline for the boys. So Leo asks Frank if it's been 10 minutes yet. Frank looks at the American manatees and notices their faces, quote, were angry and confused, like they were sleepwalking through a very annoying nightmare. And I thought, Gia? And then one goes, Leo Valdez, we meet again, in a metallic voice that sounds like English isn't their first language. And I was like, not Gia. And then Frank points out that it's the Eidolons, and I had forgotten about the Eidolons.
Always forget about the Eidolons.
They sneak up on you. Leo notes that they are too big to fit in the hole. So then the book goes, quote, right, Frank said. Underground is sounding really good. He turned into a snake and slithered over the edge. Leo jumped in after him while the spirits began to wail above, Valdez, kill Valdez. And that's the end of chapter 37, which I have retitled, We're Going Down, Down to Rolling Underground.
Perfect.
After sharing my upbringing.
Perfect. Yeah, I did either Tourists Are the Worst or Tourists Ruin Our Trip to the Pantheon.
That's great. Both good. And I
did
agree.
Love the heart-to-heart in this chapter, too.
It's good. It's good. All right, we're going to take our mid-roll break now, the Market of Athena, and then we will get back to do chapters 38 and 39. Hello and welcome to the Market of Athena Shubio edition. I am here back in the Shubio, and we are here with more updates about the podcast, so let's get into those updates. First and foremost, we've got a show in Los Angeles on December 2nd at 8 p.m. at The Crow, which is in Santa Monica, Los Angeles area, California, and it's got access to public transit and free parking, and oh yeah, there's also a TNO show that's probably third on the list of cool things about this show, but you should go and get tickets at thenewsolympian.com/live. I'm formulating exactly what we'll be covering and who the guests will be, but we've got the tickets up. It's going to be fun. I'll announce the particular details of it on social media when I secure those other details. Now, beyond that, I also have live shows coming up in Australia and New Zealand. At this point, I do have everything secured in terms of the dates and the cities for Australia. I'm now working on securing the New Zealand stuff. We're getting the ticket pages live, so they're currently not live yet. But right now, we've got Sydney on January 3rd, Perth on January 10th, Melbourne on January 17th, and Brisbane on January 24th. I'm thinking I'm going to do something where if you're a patron, you can get tickets first just to make sure, and then maybe a couple days later have a public access. But again, follow us on social media, @NewsOlympia on Instagram, mainly for announcements about those particular details. And then outside of the touring world, I've got new stuff coming to the Patreon, bonus episodes, director's commentary, all that good stuff. And just a reminder that you can gift Patreon memberships. So if you're looking for a holiday gift this holiday season and you want to do something really easy that you don't have to wait for shipping times about or tariffs, because I am so sorry. I'm so sorry, the world. But you can gift a Patreon membership. I believe they've just changed the settings to where it's really easy to do so and it's pretty clear. So you can gift some memberships to someone else as a, hey, you like TNO, I'm a patron, or I bet you'd be a fan of the Patreon. Even if you're not a patron, you can gift it to someone else. Share the love of TNO bonus content with the TNO lover in your life, or give it to someone who doesn't even know what TNO is, and then they'll become a TNO lover. Expanding the community. But yeah, you can do that all at thenewsolympian.com/Patreon. And speaking of the Patreon, I want to give a shout out to the folks who have joined the Patreon most recently. So shout out to our newest God tier patron, the God's Damned Snack Bar, and shout out to our newest Demigod tier patron, Allie Brown. Thank you all so much for your support. May Hermes bless you that if you are doing a complicated bit of public transit maneuvering that involves multiple means of transportation and transfers and everything needs to line up and not get delayed, that those delays don't happen so that you can get to where you're going in your weird, strange way. Now, one note about this episode that is going to come up after the break that I do want to clarify. We will have a discussion about lawyers. I will then talk about how I am on a softball team of lawyers, even though I'm not a lawyer. I do want to make the very important addition that team won the championship this past season. So really excited about it. It was a very dramatic final 2 games of the playoffs. Super duper fun. Great stuff. Just want you all to have the context when I'm talking about this softball team. I'm talking about the champion New York City Central Park softball team. Now, if you're all caught up on the News Olympian and you're looking for some new content to consume, you're in luck because I make a whole bunch of content and I am proud of the content that I make. And if you want something that's a little different from the podcasts that I produce, you can check out a D&D stream that I do with other podcasters called 20 to Midnight, and it's super fun. And on this coming Friday, I believe, if you're listening to this the week it comes out, we're doing our final stream of our first arc, which is going to be really fun and super duper exciting. It is a D&D 5e live stream that we've been doing for years at this point now, and it's about a group of heroes that are trying to save the world, and it's a race against the clock. Time is ticking and the world is ending and they've got to save it. And it's been so much fun to be on this journey with these other creators. And you can catch up on recorded versions of it on YouTube, and you can watch the live stream on Twitch. Just search 20 to Midnight, 20 midnight, and you can check it out. Now, unless you're listening on Patreon where you get access to ad-free episodes, you're going to hear words from a few sponsors make it feasible for me to be a full-time podcaster. Some of those ads will be read by me. Others of them won't be. The ones that aren't read by me are inserted locally. So if you live in Kazakhstan, don't be surprised if you hear an ad in Kazakh. But once those ads are complete, we'll get back into this episode of the News Olympian. And we're back. We're here for chapter 38, which is also called Leo, which we will also retitle. It opens with, quote, "One problem solved. The hatch above them closed automatically, cutting off their pursuers. It also cut off all light, but Leo and Frank could deal with that." And I wrote, with fire? Because that's not what you necessarily want to do with Frank. He's unsure that they can come out the way that they came in, and my thought is, yeah, that's not going to be necessary because something big and bad is going to happen. I imagine they will stay underground and find a way to cross over with Annabeth. That just feels like, given the number of chapters left, what is in play. Frank turns back into a human and asks what's the plan. Leo warns him that he's going to spark a little fire, but it's just so that they can see. He lights his finger like a birthday candle, and he notes that the tunnel only goes one way, so they follow it. Leo is comforted by having a strong person like Frank behind him, but he's worried that the Eidolons will abandon their manatee bodies, seep through the ground, and possess one of them. Narrator Leo goes, quote, "Oh, there's my happy thought for the day," and then scolds himself for thinking it. They then see Hazel after a little bit, and she is examining a door so intently that Leo has to go, "Hi," for her to notice that they are there. She gets spooked and swings her sword at them, but thankfully the spatha is longer than the corridor is wide, so the blade doesn't actually reach Leo's face. Hazel asks what they're doing here. Leo explains. Hazel says she thought Piper made the Eidolons promise to stay away, and Frank clarifies that she made them promise to not possess any of the 7 and to stay off the ship. So they are currently abiding by the rules. And I told you, Piper.
Yep.
I also caveated that maybe if she asks for too many things, they wouldn't agree to it. It would take too strong of charm speak for them to agree.
Gotta be specific.
Yeah. And yeah, you got to be specific. You got to be reasonable. If you just say like, you guys have to die, like it's not going to work. You'd have to be so strong. So I get maybe it's not about having too big of an ask. But once she had the very specific requirements, I knew, okay, so these people will come back. It will just be not on the ship and they will be possessing other people.
Yeah, you got to use Fae rules when dealing with monsters.
Got to treat them like genies.
Mm-hmm.
Leo says, which is very funny, "Great, Eidolons who are also lawyers. Now I really want to kill them." Very funny joke. Very, very funny joke. So especially good. As me being a boy who's on a softball team in Central Park of all lawyers, and then Johnny and my buddy Adam Amawala. So it's an all lawyer and 3 goofball team. And it's great. And when lawyer stuff comes up, I get to just be like, ha ha, lawyers. Yeah, me too. The bar. Ha ha ha.
I just went to Ren Fair with a friend who was Percy in my Percy Jackson photo shoot, and his wife, who's a lawyer, and all of his lawyer friends, and then a couple of their partners. So I was walking around Ren Fair with all lawyers.
Amazing. Look, lawyers.
So I get it.
Of at least my limited experience with this lawyer softball team, they're all a delight, and they are not stuffy, and sometimes they work on cool cases and for cool causes.
When they're awesome, they're awesome.
Yeah.
When they're not awesome,
yeah,
it's for ethical reasons.
Right. I guess that's the thing. All of the people on my lawyer softball team do cool things. Like one of the girls was on the case. I don't know. I think she works for the New York Port Authority, and she did the legal stuff when they extended the ferry line to go past the Astoria stop and to the East 90th stop in Manhattan. And I use that stop all the time. That's how I get to the softball games. I go on the Astoria ferry across the East 90th Street, and then I walk.
All your ferry photos for Ferry Boy.
Ferry Boy, baby. Yeah. So I'm super grateful. And I think she's also working on, they're trying to extend the ferry to have a line where it would go to LaGuardia Airport and to Citi Field where the Mets play. And there's a bunch of concerts there as well.
Perfect
stuff.
So
more public transit. I love it. And the ferry is such a good way to get around New York. So all about it.
I've been trying to do a train in Denver from like Denver to Fort Collins and then also down to Colorado Springs. And they've been talking about it since I moved here when I was like 5 or 6. And they're like, we're finally going to do it. And we're like, are you sure?
At least Denver has which it should be mandatory that every city has this. They have a train that goes from the airport to downtown.
Yeah.
Every city should have that. It should be required.
Well, especially because the Denver airport's not in Denver.
Right. Because that, at least in America, airports are usually not in the cities they proclaim to be in. They're usually 30 minutes by car away. So you should have to do it. Every European city that I've ever been to does this, where you land, it's like, oh, cool, we'll take the high-speed rail for 15 cents, and it'll take 30 minutes maximum, and you're in downtown. Ugh.
And when I was in, like, D.C., like, it was so nice to just take the, like, tram everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, it was so
They've
nice.
got good stuff. Right. So hopefully more transit. Always love more transit. But yeah, another person on my team works for affordable housing lawyer stuff. So like, I guess the thing, you're right. My lawyers that I know all work for cool things. So they're nice people. They're not, Jeff Bezos's lawyers or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, Percy Jackson, Hazel says that they should forget about the Eidolons and focus on the door. Yes, Leo's fear now wouldn't work because they are going to abide by Piper's rule. Hazel asks Leo if he can magic the door open. Leo examines it and is surprised to see that the letters inscribed in the door are Greek. As the narrator, he says, quote, "The door was interesting, much more complicated than the Roman numeral combination lock above. The entire door was coated in imperial gold. A mechanical sphere about the size of a bowling ball was embedded in the center. The sphere was constructed from 5 concentric rings, each inscribed with zodiac symbols, the bull, the scorpion, etc., and seemingly random numbers and letters. Loved the full usage of etc. written out and not etc. period, because 1, it's Latin, and 2, because of my Latin in high schoolness, when people say etc. instead of etc., that's when coffee lovers get mad at people calling espresso.
Me too. I am shaking your hand.
It's etc., not ect. It's etc., not etc.
It is
etc.
Latin.
It's literally it's an abbreviation of a phrase, etc., and all related things. Yeah, and continuing, right. You get it. Latin high school people, we get it.
We get it.
So the bull, the scorpion, etc., and seemingly random numbers and letters. Hazel says that many Romans spoke Greek, so it could just be the result of that. Leo says, no offense to you Camp Jupiter folks, but the craftsmanship is so complex that this has to be Greek. Leo begins to say what the spherical lock reminds him of, but he trails off, and then he says, quote, "You line up the symbols on the different rings in the right order, and that opens the door." So it's like a codex sort of thing. And Hazel asks, okay, well, what's the correct order? Leo says he doesn't know, but then he thinks for a bit and asks, oh yeah, what's the value of pi? And I, of course, remember it's 3.14159, baby. And that's as far as I know. Shout out to the folks who can go way, way, way farther.
Yeah.
But I just know like that base number.
Mm-hmm.
When Leo asks, what's the value of pi? Frank goes, what kind of pie? Oh, Frank. Oh, Frank. So cute. Hazel explains what Leo meant. Leo says that it is used to measure circles. And if this is made by who he thinks it is, and I wrote, oh, Archimedes? Ooh.
Archimedes.
So good. Hazel and Frank are confused. Leo says, never mind, and then rattles off pi to 4 decimal places. And I thought that was strange. Like, I feel like 5 is like the classic. Like, you either do 3.14 or you do 3.14159, at least from school. For me, that was what it always was.
I think I usually do the 1415, but sometimes go to 9. I don't know.
Going to the 9, I always liked, like, if I ever was doing calculations in an engineering setting and I didn't have, my calculator that has a pi button on it or something, I would always do 0.159 because to do 0.5 at the end, the fact that it's a 9, it's so close to being 0.16. So you would actually round it up. So I always like doing the 5-9. But the reason Leo only goes to 4 is because since this sphere has 5 rings, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5 is 1 for each ring.
Yeah.
So he thinks, okay, if I'm right, we've got the right amount. And Frank asks, well, what if you're wrong? And Leo replies, well, then Leo fall down, go boom. Let's find out. And I wrote in my notes, did Uncle Rick just quote the Wu Tang Clan? Because in the song Gravel Pit by the Wu Tang Clan, Method Man in his verse has a line where he says, baby fall down, go boom. So I had to Google that, but I learned from the internet that baby fall down, go boom is a common phrase to describe when babies fall. But I've literally never heard that phrase outside of the song Gravel Pit by the Wu Tang Clan.
That's so funny. But did the phrase come from the song or did the song reference the phrase?
I believe the song referenced the phrase. And that makes sense because a lot of times rappers will utilize phrases of all sorts, whether it's idioms, turns of phrase, stuff like that.
Though also they coin phrases of all sorts.
That's true. But I don't think Method Man coined baby fall down, go boom.
That would be very funny though.
There's other things he certainly did coin, but I don't think that's one of them. But I have literally never heard baby fall down, go boom other than that song. So when Leo said that, I was like,
I mean, I wonder if Rick only knows it from the song, too.
I don't want to pass judgment on Rick Riordan, but given that he is an old white guy that has never referenced rap in any of these books and seems to exclusively wear blazers, button-down shirts, and jeans, I don't know that he's rocking with the Wu. Now, if he is, I will be so gladly corrected.
I do think that once, I think someone asked Becky on Threads or something, like, what kind of music Rick likes the most. And she's like, oh, he listens to everything. Like, I can't tell you like a specific genre. So, I mean,
maybe I stand corrected and Uncle Rick loves...
I could also be misremembering. Don't come at me if I'm wrong. Just correct it in the comment.
I will just have to add this to the very important list of questions to ask Uncle Rick. Rick, have you ever brought the mother ruckus? I will just have to ask him. If he is rocking with the killer bees.
You gotta know.
Gotta
Most
know.
Important question.
Inquiring minds want to know. But anyway, Percy Jackson. Leo puts in the pi digits and huzzah, the door opens. Narrator Leo says, quote, inside was enough cool stuff to keep Leo busy for years. The room was about the size of the forge back at Camp Half-Blood, with bronze-topped work tables along the walls and baskets full of ancient metalworking tools. Dozens of bronze and gold spheres like steampunk basketballs, I, of course, perked up at the mention of basketball, sat around in various stages of disassembly. Loose gears and wiring littered the floor. Thick metal cables ran from each table toward the back of the room, where there was an enclosed loft, like a theater's sound booth. Stairs led up to the booth on either side. All the cables seemed to run into it. Next to the stairs on the left, a row of cubby holes was filled with leather cylinders, probably ancient scroll cases. Pretty neat. Seems like a cool little room. Or I guess cool big room if it's as big as the Cabin 9 bunker. Leo gets spooked by 2 armored mannequins guarding the door. Leo says, dude, these would be awesome if they worked. And then Frank backs up from them. And Frank goes, those things are going to come alive and attack us, aren't they? Frank, you are a very smart cookie. Leo thinks, fat chance, as the automatons are not fully built. There are exposed loose wires. There's misaligned joints. Nah, man, these things are getting possessed for sure. So he thinks that the Romans tried to copy Greek designs but didn't have the necessary skill. And now, since this has happened a couple of times, there's a little butting of heads where Frank and Hazel are like, all right, bud, okay.
I will say Leo's being a little bit of a jerk to them and about Romans, but I will also say that the way he talks about ancient Romans is the way that I want to talk to the weird white supremacy dude bros whose Roman Empire is the Roman Empire, but in like the war empire, weird, violent way of like, oh, their fascism was cool. And I'm like, I want to talk about the Romans this way to those people specifically. Maybe not to Roman demigods, but...
It's always fun when those people will be obsessed with leaders or warriors from back then and then still be homophobic. It's like, wait a second.
Yeah, it's like, do they know? Do they know?
Have you not read enough history books? Do they know? Oh, yeah. But I think Leo is doing the Hephaestus is not good about talking with organic life forms, because I do not think he's trying to be snooty. No. I think he just truly doesn't have the social skills to recognize how he is coming across. He's trying to be factual, just like objective truth. The Greeks were better than the Romans at this kind of stuff.
It's like,
but he's
as
not
an
reading the
autistic person, it's a little bit that... Yeah, I've been in his shoes, and I've had to work real hard to try and learn not to do that.
Totally. It's tough. It's tough. So I think that's what I would credit it to.
Yeah.
So Leo says the attempt is still impressive of what they were going for. He goes on that he heard the Romans stole the writings of Archimedes. Hazel asks if that's the famous mathematician, and Leo says he was more than that. He was also the most famous son of Hephaestus. That's cool. I always love when the books do this.
That links so perfectly, too.
It does really line up well. Frank asks how Leo can be sure that it's his design, and Leo says it just has to be. He says he knows a bunch about him because he's a hero to Cabin 9. He explains that the Roman general of the invading army, when they invaded Greece, wanted to spare Archimedes because he would prove to be valuable, but, quote, a stupid Roman soldier killed him. And Hazel doesn't like how easily Leo describes Romans as being stupid.
To be fair, that Roman soldier was stupid. He was.
Yes, he was.
He messed up majorly. They wanted that Archimedes alive so badly, and he just got mad at him. Like,
Frank asks what Archimedes built. Leo says that he calculated the value of pi, and he invented engineering marvels like a hydraulic screw that moved water through pipes. Frank scoffs at this. Leo one-ups this with saying that he also built a death ray made of mirrors that could burn enemy ships. And Frank says, yeah, I heard about that, but I also heard that it didn't work. And Leo explains that mortals only think that because they don't know how to use celestial bronze. This is also great. Rewriting of the history of, oh yeah, these quote-unquote failed inventions. It's just because you mortals weren't good enough to make them work.
Which
That's
is
fun.
Perfect.
Yeah, if they did a similar thing with Da Vinci's stuff too,
I was just thinking about
really
Da Vinci,
fun.
Like probably child of Athena, because it's both the smarts and the more creative side to it. So like,
I like it.
I feel like Hephaestus is more like straight up engineering. It's why Leo is like, I'm an engineering person, but not an architect. Whereas Annabeth has both the engineering and like creative know-how.
Totally. So Leo continues saying that Archimedes also built a massive claw that would swing out onto enemy ships and yank them out of the water. Frank hands it to Leo. Okay, that's pretty cool because he loves claw games. Hazel asks what the metal basketballs here are. Leo says, quote, guys, Archimedes constructed spheres. The Romans couldn't figure them out. They thought they were just for telling time or following constellations because they were covered with pictures of stars and planets, but that's like finding a rifle and thinking it's a walking stick. Hazel pushes back, saying that the Romans were skilled engineers. Look at the roads and the aqueducts that they build. And Frank jumps in saying, yeah, and the siege weapons and the public sanitation. Leo admits that those are solid inventions, but he says that Archimedes was in a tier of his own. He says that his spheres could do all sorts of things, but no one knew exactly what.
I think what he means is like Archimedes isn't in a tier of his own because he's Greek. He's just in a tier of his own that Romans couldn't figure it out.
Correct. Like even compared to other Greeks, he's above and beyond.
Yeah.
Narrator Leo says, quote, suddenly Leo got an idea so incredible that his nose burst into flames. He patted it out as quickly as possible. Man, it was embarrassing when that happened. Very fun. Really like what we're getting from Leo in these chapters. These, I think, have been my favorite Leo chapters.
It'd be funny if that happened when he lied to like a Pinocchio thing.
Oh, that'd be great. That would be great.
Just
Leo
nervous.
runs over to the scrolls and picks up one titled On Building Spheres. He proudly proclaims it as the lost book. Leo is hyped as hell at the possibilities if he can translate it. He thinks that this is bigger than Daedalus's laptop. He says that this information could save Camp Half-Blood from a Camp Jupiter attack, and it could help them defeat Gia and the Giants. And when I wrote this, I only now realized you cannot spell Giants without Gia. Because when I write it in my notes, I spell it G-I-A instead of Gaia, but can't spell Giants without Gia, baby.
Oh my gosh. Incredible. Amazing.
Hazel and Frank are skeptical, but Hazel allows him to take the scroll, though she reminds him that this isn't what they are after. Frank makes a snide comment about Leo being okay with sharing his findings with the Roman simpletons. Leo explains, I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry. And this is where I, cut him some slack. And the narrator, Leo, says, quote, for the first time in days, Leo felt really hopeful. Naturally, that's when everything went wrong, which, of course. So an orb on a table whirs to life. It sprouts legs. It then tases Frank and Hazel. Leo goes to help them, but the unfinished mannequins draw their swords and approach Leo. So I reminisce, this has to be the Eidolons. And the book ends this chapter with the following. The one on the left turned its crooked helmet, which was shaped like a wolf's head. Despite the fact that it had no face or mouth, a familiar hollow voice spoke from behind its visor. You cannot escape us, Leo Valdez, it said. We do not like possessing machines, but they are better than tourists. You will not leave here alive. And that's the end of chapter 38, which I have retitled Eureka!
That's a good one.
It's what Archimedes said when he did the bathtub thing. In case
bathtub thing. That's like my dad told me that story when I was like 5 and asked what Eureka meant, and he like explained the whole thing to me. It was like one of my favorite stories as a kid. I had 2, either Welcome to Leo World.
Oh, yeah, because he does say that at one point.
And Frank is like, I hate Leo World.
Yes, thank you. Because I'm remiss to not comment about that. Thank you.
Or my friends have an electrifying experience.
Oh my gosh. That's really fun. That's really, really, really fun. Mm-hmm. Okay, we will do chapter 39, which, as aforementioned, is super duper quick. It is called Leo. We will retitle it. It opens with, quote, Leo agreed with Nemesis about one thing. Good luck was a sham, at least when it came to Leo's luck. I feel like he has made this comment multiple times before. I feel like he has commented about his bad luck before.
I think he just doesn't like luck. He's just like, this is bad.
This is all bad. He recalls that he saved Jason and Piper by himself in The Lost Hero, but this time it seems more daunting. Fire won't work because these dudes are made out of metal and because Frank and Hazel are too close. And then one of the mannequins says that these two, Frank and Hazel, will do as the male and the female, quote, if the others die. And they say that they don't need Leo. But Leo claps back saying, you always need a Leo Valdez, which is pretty fun. So Leo tries to look all intimidating, and as the narrator says, quote, he wondered if it was too late to write Team Leo on his shirt. Great. I love Team Leo is really fun. I love the Team Leo stuff. That's really, really good. But he figures this isn't going to work, and it doesn't. His overconfidence thing doesn't have the same effect that it did on the nymphs with Narcissus. So then the wolf helmet one says, quote, I have been in your mind, Leo. I helped you start the war. So now we get a sense of at least which one it is, but I don't know if the Eidolons gave their names.
Like I said, I've reread these books recently, but it was the first time I reread them since the first time I read them.
I didn't want to control F in my very legal PDF for Eidolons because I imagine this chapter is not the last we'll hear from them, and I didn't want
so you don't want
to show up. So we move. But Leo is taken aback because he's now been directly confronted by the one that possessed him. And Nat makes everything make sense, like the tourists and all this stuff. And Leo's pretty upset. And the wolfhead one goes, I know how you think. I know your limits. You are small and alone. You need friends to protect you. Without them, you are unable to withstand me. I vowed not to possess you again, but I can still kill you. So the mannequins approach further. They point their swords by Leo's face. And then Leo, rather than be afraid, he gets angry. He's so upset about how awful the previous possessing experience with this guy was that he just sees red. He looks over at the spheres on the work table, and then he thinks about using his tool belt, and then he thinks about that loft behind him with the sound booth, and then boom, he describes it as, quote, Operation Junk Pile was born. And I knew when they described that sound booth earlier that it was going to be something. It was too unique to not be, but at the time of reading, I was like, okay, but what are we going to do with it? I guessed at this point, like maybe it's like a control tower where you can like get up there and make everything come to life, but we'll soon see what happens. The wolfhead says, first, you don't know me, and second, bye. And then Leo lunges for the stairs and runs up them. The suits of armor chasing after, they're not as fast, thankfully. So he goes up there, and thankfully this loft has doors, and they are folding metal gates, because whoever's up there wants to be protected from any creations going haywire, Leo guesses. So he slams both of the gates shut and then fuses the locks with his fire powers, which is very, very cool. Now the suits of armor are trying to get in. They're rattling it. They're hacking at it with their swords. swords. It's not working. The lion head one says that Leo's being foolish. He's just delaying the inevitable. They're going to get him. And Leo says, quote, delaying death is one of my favorite hobbies. So Leo scans the area. He looks at the workshop. He sees the junk that's around. He dismisses things that aren't going to work. He sees some diagrams. He sees some tools, and he's trying to figure out what can I use? But he focuses on the main project of this workshop. In the center of the table, there is a disassembled Archimedes sphere. So there's gears and levers and rods and springs all spread around it. There's bronze cables that are all over, and Leo can sense the celestial bronze throughout the workshop. He senses it like arteries in a heart, quote, ready to conduct magical energy from this spot. And Leo goes, one basketball to rule them all. A Lord of the Rings crossover with basketball, literal crossover.
It's just made for
goodness.
You, honestly. I don't understand the basketball, but I get the Lord of the Rings, so I can appreciate it too.
The basketball thing is literally him just control replace ring with basketball. Like it is nothing.
Yeah. No, obviously, but like
straight up.
I can't claim to be a hooper is more what I meant, but I also appreciate the Lord of the Rings reference.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. So Leo explains that this sphere was a master regulator, and he is standing at ancient Roman mission control. So they yell, demanding him to open the gate, or they will kill him. And Leo calls this a fair and generous offer. He's still looking at the sphere.
Yeah, I think, and they will kill them, like Yzma, Emperor's New Groove, like
this
open
does
this
say
gate.
or. He does say or.
Okay.
But that would be pretty
I feel
funny.
like they're going to kill him anyway.
I mean, I wouldn't trust them to really be down for a negotiation. Leo is fixated on this, saying, hold on. And he realizes by making the request to finish this, he's confused the spirits because they stop for a second. And then Leo's hands go over the sphere and he's reassembling all of the pieces. He's wondering, why did they have to take this apart so much? He's putting it all together. He's grumbling as the narrator about how they killed Archimedes. They stole the stuff. They messed with his equipment. What's going on? But then he goes, all right, but at least on the other hand, they did lock it away for 2,000 years. So it's all safe. So the Eidolons keep trying to get in. They realize they're not going to get in. And then the Wolfhead one proves that he knows Leo's mind because he is putting together what Leo is going to do. So Leo's like, I really got to work fast because this guy's going to figure out like what I'm trying to do here. I got to work faster than him. And then here's where you get your line from narrator Leo, quote, he connected the gears, got one wrong and had to start again. Hephaestus's hand grenades. This was hard.
I just love like PG fake swears for magical worlds.
Yes, it feels very Adam West Batman.
Exactly.
To, like a Robin sort of like,
holy hand grenade.
Holy cement mixers, Batman. Yeah.
Holy shark repellent.
Sure.
I saw that movie so long ago.
Leo gets the final spring in place. He feels like, all right, this should be all together. Hopefully this thing works. And then he winds the starter coil. The gears begin to turn. Leo then closes the top of the sphere and then looks at the concentric circles. It's similar to those of the workshop door. The Eidolons continue to bang and bang on the door, and then Leo curses under his breath because the Wolfhead one announces that their third comrade will kill his friends. And Leo's like, third comrade? Oh no. He glances down at the ball that tased them, and he's thinking, another Eidolon is inside of this one. But he's got to figure out, okay, let me figure out my thing. Let me get this sorted. I can do this. And Leo goes, yeah, okay, you got me. Just a sec. And the Wolfhead one replies, no more seconds. Open this gate now or they die. So the taser ball then has tendrils that are lashing out, and they shock Frank and Hazel again. So their bodies flinch around. Really don't like it. Leo's worried about their hearts. He's fighting back tears. He's thinking, this is too hard. Oh no, I can't do this. He's getting worried, and I'm getting worried too. But then he looks at the sphere. There are 7 rings. They've got Greek letters, numbers, and zodiac signs. He's thinking, all right, the answer is not going to be pi. Archimedes wouldn't do the same thing twice. And with his sensing ability, he can just sense that this was a randomly generated one. It's something only Archimedes would know. And Leo's narrator says, quote, supposedly Archimedes' last words had been, don't disturb my circles.
That's true.
It's true. I thought this was like a joke. And then it continues. No one knew what he meant, but Leo could apply it to the sphere. He says that the lock is too complicated. And Leo thinks, if I had a few years, I could figure this out. But I don't even have a few seconds. He's thinking he's out of time. He's out of luck and his friends are going to die. And then a voice in his mind goes, a problem you cannot solve. And he thinks back to Nemesis. She said that there was going to be a moment where he would need help. So he thrusts his hand into his pocket and he brings out the fortune cookie. And he knows that Nemesis said there's going to be a great price. Could be as great as losing an eye, but he thinks, look, my friends are going to die if I don't do this. So then the book ends with the following quote, I need the access code for this sphere, he said. He broke open the cookie. And that is the end of this chapter, an intense cliffhanger to end it on. But that's the end of chapter 39. That is the end of this episode. We did do it. Do you have a retitling for chapter 39?
I called it I Accept My Fortune. Or even I Break My Fortune.
Yeah, I'm on a similar wavelength. I retitled chapter 39, How the Cookie Crumbles.
That's so good. That's a great one.
Thank you. Yours is great too. Look, that's what's up. It's fortune time. I will just have to see what happens in the next episode. But until then, Morgan, thank you so much for joining. This was a delight as always. Anything you want to plug out to the people if people want to find you doing stuff?
Yeah, I'm Imaginmatrix on pretty much everywhere on the internet. Spelled Imaginmatrix without an E at the end of Imagine. All one word. I do a lot of cosplay stuff. I occasionally do TTRPG live play performing. I write a lot and share writing. I have a lot of opinions on books and literature and Percy Jackson. And I do run a adults-only Percy Jackson fan Discord server that it's just everyone is 18 and up. It's not safe for work or anything. It's just I don't want to be responsible for 14-year-olds on the internet.
Smart.
So if you are over the age of 18 and you want to engage in a community of people, closer in age to you and, talk about Percy Jackson, or we talk about all sorts of stuff in there. We have so many channels for different things. You can join that. You can, message me directly, or you can find it linked on almost any of my social media or my website. And I think that's everything I would plug.
Beautiful. Well, Morgan, thank you so much for joining. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, when we see whatever the aftermath of opening up the fortune cookie is, until then, we'll see you later. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of The Newest Olympian. This podcast is created, hosted, and produced by me, Mike Schubert. I also run the social media and the website. Our editor is Sherry Guo. The music is by Bettina Campamanes and Brendan Krugel, and the art is by Jessica E. Boyd. If you can't get enough of the show, you can go to thenewestolympian.com/Patreon for bonus episodes, bonus content, ad-free episodes, a whole bunch of fun stuff. If you want to interact with the community around the show, you can check out the Discord, which is available to all patrons, or we're on social media. We're at Newest Olympian on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Twitter. And we've got a subreddit, reddit.com/r/thenewestolympian. You can also show your love for TNO by getting TNO merch at thenewestolympian.com/merch. Of course, I want to give a huge shout out to our producer level patrons, Kelsey Gillespie, Vicky Garcia, Frida Vikstrom, Megan Moon, Polly Burge, Nikki Harris, Tatiana Schmidt, Sandra Rose, Josh Sayer, Sam Ruby, Mrs. O'Leary, Milo Kim, Sandkopf, Rayla Matthews, Sky Mallory, Mick Walters, Grace, Ginger Spursboy, Bradimus Prime, Skylar Sisters, Scott Sheldon, Ann M. Thayer Cohen, Bella, Percy Jackson, Kit Kat Crumbs, Jim Jam Koopy, Andrea, not Andrea, Jordan Ray, Nico's Black, Vespa, Zayden Wintergate, and Terry Rothfuss. If you want to support the show in a non-monetary way, word of mouth is essential for podcast growth. You can tell a friend directly, say, hey, there's this Percy Jackson podcast I think you would like, check it out. You could leave a rating and review on whatever podcasting app you're using, or you could just talk about the show on social media. All these things really do help. I really appreciate anyone who has done so in the past, and I appreciate anyone who will do so in the future. But I'm just so thankful that you tuned into this episode, and I hope you tune into our next episode, where we'll be joined by Jania Stewart to break down chapters 40 through 42 of The Mark of Athena. But until then, I'll see you later. Hey everyone, how's it going? It's me, ASMR Mike. So recently at a TNO live show, I was gifted a custom Riptide Anaclusmos pen from a listener, and it's fantastic, and I've been using it to sign all of my podcast documents that need signing. I've been using it for podcast note-taking. It's really great. So here is me opening the pen, and here's me closing the pen. Ooh, what a satisfying click. And then here is me putting the pen back into its custom-made pen holding case, which does have a riptide design on the outside. So I'm putting it back into its little case for safekeeping. And I will note that on the inside of this box, it says, "The pen is mightier than the sword," in a very Percy Jackson looking font. Super cool stuff. Thank you so much to that lovely listener who gave me that pen. I cherish it oh so dearly. And thank you for listening.